Today, we're going to be creating some D&D tiles. Now, I have seen multiple people do this. Shout out to RP Archive. He really was the individual to inspire me to be able to do it. I've been playing D&D for quite some time, and as a DM, there are so many different ways, so many different methods in order to pull your party into the game that you're managing. I have used theater of the mind, I have used projectors, I have used laptops, I have used screens on underneath a piece of glass as the surface. I have printed out on postcards, you name it. And there's simply nothing like 3D modular tiles. Yes, they could be cumbersome. Yes, they are a lot of work. Yes, there is storage problems that you may run into, but there is a way around all of this, and quite frankly, it's just the most fun. And that's just for me personally. Having been somebody who has now done it a multitude of ways, I can say that this is my favorite, and it's really not as hard as you think. But if you would like to create some standard modular looking tavern tiles, stone tiles for dungeon crawling, whatever have you, you can do this. And I promise you, you can do it, and it's not that hard. So follow along and have some fun. First things first, some tools you're going to need are a carpenter's square, an X-Acto knife, and a razor blade. So today I'm going to show you how to make two different types of tile sets. Both of them 12 by 12, so the equivalent of, while you're playing, it'd be 60 foot by 60 foot. Every inch is 5 feet. And I'm going to begin by making some tavern tiles, followed by some dungeon tiles. Two different sets, very simple. And so I began by simply cutting up every half inch as I was working on the tavern tiles, just slits, straight lines going up and down at a half inch apart, all 12 inches top to bottom, as you can see here. Very simple, just run the X-Acto knife over, make your cuts, and then after you do that, you're going to take out your ballpoint pen. This is just a way to help make the edges not be so sterile and kind of bevel them in. Don't forget to bevel your edges, as that can kind of slip through the cracks. No pun intended. After that, once you've beveled all of your edges with your ballpoint pen, I like to use one of those classic Papermate types of pens, and with the tip out, I just poke two holes in order to make it look like nail holes. And I do that 1 inch apart the whole way. So then I take a mechanical pencil, and with no graphite showing, I just streak across in order to bevel in and give it some wood grain feel. From there, you're going to make a Mod Podge mixture, which I've put here on the screen. It's going to be 2 parts Mod Podge, 1 part black acrylic paint, and you're going to paint over the whole thing. This way, it gives you a base coat. From there, just do straight black acrylic paint in order to get a base layer. You want to paint over that pink foam. This way, none of that shows through. Now, while that's drying, I'm going to move over to my dungeon tiles. The dungeon tiles are very simple. They are each 1 inch squares. I painted those exactly the same with just a nice pewter gray base layer. And then after that dried, I went back and started painting individual squares, specific colors, to kind of give it more of that cobblestone feel. You can see that here. I just sort of base it off of what I see with my eye, and I just kind of let it come to me and feel it out. And you don't want it to look too perfect. Now, as you can see, we have the base layer done. I have 4 different types of colors on there. And really what we want to do now is add what is called dry brushing. Dry brushing does take a little bit to get used to. It takes a little bit to get a hang of. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably one of the more difficult aspects of this whole thing, because if you do not dry brush correctly, you will leave streaks across everything, across what you're painting, and it won't look realistic. The idea of dry brushing is to add a layer of what looks like dust while really accentuating all of the ridges in the tile work. So here I use a lightly damp brush. I dry it as best I can. I then take that, put it in the paint mixture, dab out most of it on a paper towel, followed by on my hand, and then very lightly across the top, I am brushing over the ridges on the stone tile. This really does accentuate all of those ridges and cracks in your XPS foam. You can see the difference from one side to the other. One side just looks flat and non-dimensional, but then when you look at the side that has the dry brushing, it looks awesome. It really starts to pop and come to life. Once the tile work is finished being dry brushed and everything is nice and dry, it can be stone washed. Now the wash is made from a few different ingredients, beginning with Matte Medium by Liquitex, followed by Flow Aid Additive. And then after the Flow Aid, we have acrylic ink. I'm using the color Carbon Black. And lastly, very simply, water. Who knew? Simply fill up whatever canister you're using 50% with water, which I have done in this little canister. I got 50% water. Next, use your matte medium. And with your matte medium, you're going to squeeze it into your container. Probably like get that 50% up now to 75%. So it's about 75% full. Then add in 10 drops of acrylic ink and also a couple squirts of your Flow Aid additive. Be sure to shake up the concoction real well. And now you have a very nice wash that's going to go on top and really help bring out the stonework, make it look like it's kind of finished, really. Personally, I like to squeeze it with this pinpoint bottle. It just helps to be able to control where everything is going. And then I also use a brush, just a fan brush, to spread it out evenly. Make sure you do this along the whole sides as well. It's very easy to forget all of your edges along the outskirts, all four edges of your stonework. So be sure to hit that as well. Once this is dried, your final step is to make a Mod Podge water mixture. It's going to be heavily water-based over Mod Podge. I just do 50 milliliters of water followed by a little bit of Mod Podge, stir it up, and then I spread it across. This is going to help seal it all up, seal it in, no cracks. And I had actually already done it at this point, so that's why it looks so glossy and nice. But yeah, simply spread the Mod Podge water mixture all over. Don't forget to hit the edges again. It's easy to forget them. And let it dry. And while the stone dungeon tile is drying, we're going to move over to the wooden tiles that we had begun with. Once that black base layer has dried, you can just take whatever color brown you're looking for. I just did a standard dark brown, and you're going to spread it over the whole thing. Cover up the black completely. Make sure you hit the edges as well. You can see here how it's kind of pulling out the grain of wood that we put in with the lead pencil earlier. You can see it. It looks nice. We're going to let it dry. Once dry, now we can go back to dry brushing. Oh, the pain of dry brushing. But I'm telling you, dry brushing makes all the difference. It really brings out the ridges, and that's what we're trying to do here. We want to pull out the wood grain, and that can be best done by adding a nice highlight of dry brushing. Make sure anytime you dry brush, you are using a lighter color than whatever your main color is. The light color will help accentuate all of the grain. And you can see here, honestly, I didn't do my best dry brushing ever here. Again, it's a struggle, and it's something that I'm growing at, getting better at. But now we can move on to the wash. Same thing goes. I take the wash that I had made earlier, you pour it all over, and then you spread it with the brush. This here is going to add some nice dark richness to the gullies, to the valleys, to the little dips, to the wood grain that you have created. So you have the nice dry brush highlights followed by the wash which is going to help accentuate what is going on, the darker, deeper parts of the wood. And honestly, man, you have to use the wash. The wash is pivotal in making your tiles look good. Once this has dried as well, you're going to take that Mod Podge and water mixture, again 50 milliliters of water followed by just a little bit of Mod Podge, enough to create a sealant that we are going to run over the wood. I had already done it, so this is me just kind of showing you once again. But here, do not forget, make sure to hit your edges. And voila! That is how you make some really cool modular tiles. Some modular tiles in order to incorporate as a DM, a way to start bringing out and bringing to life your campaign. This was the type of thing that I put off for far too long because I didn't know if I'd be able to do it successfully. Let me tell you, it can be done, and it's a lot easier than it looks. Have a little fun. Buy some XPS foam, buy yourself an X-Acto knife, some paintbrushes, some acrylic paint. These things, all of it for less than $100 on Amazon, and really bring to life your D&D campaign.